Welcome to Anonymous Andrew Podcast, Life and the Choices We Make. New podcast launched a couple of weeks ago. So let's talk about what is this podcast about. In the title, Life and the Choices We Make, it's about the daily decisions that we are faced with. And we are faced with sometimes 1,000 decisions a day. Okay. And I could be referring to when we brush our teeth in the morning, and in what order, what side of the mouth to start on. And I'm really being trivial here by just giving an example of just decisions and choices that we make. Some of them are habitual or ritual, and they just are done subconsciously or unconsciously. And what I'm talking about in the grand scheme of this podcast is the big choices that we are confronted with in especially relationships. We have all been in relationships, right? Whether it's marriage, friendships. I'm not necessarily talking romantic relationships. It can be a business relationship, a financial relationship, families. But in my case, and for this podcast purpose, for the first half a dozen episodes, give or take, we're going to be talking about romantic relationships. So you meet and start dating somebody, and it blossoms and turns into a relationship, and you both agree to, maybe not agree, but you both fall in love, or the chemistry is there, and you begin a relationship. And there are decisions right then and there to be made. Are we going to be committed? Are we going to be loyal? Are we going to be honest with each other? And I actually remember having this conversation with the last person I was in a relationship. Actually, in my profile, under one of those little things that you have to type out, something about like what's your mantra. Mine was honesty, even if it hurts. And I believe that. Tell the truth, even if it's going to hurt either yourself or the person that you're telling. I.e., if you have an infidelity in a relationship and the other person finds out about it, and you confront that person and say, hey, I have evidence that you cheated on me. And of course, many times the person will deny it. Other times, if confronted with evidence, they may not be able to deny it. But in either case, what the point is that if they come out and say, yeah, I did, I was weak, it hurts, right? It hurts. So, but it's honest. They're being honest with you, and they're coming clean. And then you have another choice to make. You have a choice on what are we going to do now going forward? And we're going to work on this relationship and fix it, or maybe the person that was cheated on just will never be able to trust that person again, so they need to walk away. Whatever. These are just small examples of the choices that we need to make in relationships. Let me escalate it just a little bit higher now. So you're in a relationship, and the other person begins to exhibit odd behavior. Now, in the beginning, of course, their behavior may not seem odd because you don't know that person yet. It may be just who they are. But ultimately, when the honeymoon period ends and they are when the honeymoon period ends, and which is where love is blind, right? You don't see the character defects or character flaws, or you choose not to, or on both sides, right? You're both on your best behavior. When the true colors come flying out, and I mentioned this in my podcast, true colors doesn't have to have a negative connotation to it. True colors just means it's their persona, their real persona emerges. And you get to start to know this person. By the way, these red flags that I'm going to be referring to do not adhere to any one gender, any one age group, any one ethnicity, race, color, creed, all of that. It's a human flaw where, and now I'm going to start to go down the path where the red flags appear. The red flags start to appear, and then the person who's on the receiving end looks at that and goes, that's not normal. Or if I confront that person with something that I didn't understand, why didn't you text me for 6 hours? Why didn't you show up to our date? Whatever. And then the answer you get is either a blank stare or a convoluted double talking answer, or a straight up lie because they look at you in the face, and also you have those telltale signs when somebody's lying. It's been scientifically proven that they either look up or they look down. They don't look at you. And anyway, so these are the red flags. I'm giving you an example. So the person that's receiving this information, in my experience, and I'm talking about me and people that I have spoken to, generally let them go in the beginning, all right? Because you're just getting to know the person, and you question whether maybe, they're telling the truth or whatever the case is. But when they start repeatedly happening, frequently, over and over and over again, and then new ones come up, all right? Which I'm not going to get into here. Just listen to the podcast. At some point, you have to keep it in the eye. I have to say enough. No more. Your explanations, your lies, your gaslighting, your cheating, your deception is blatant, and the red flags are blaring. So this is what the podcast is about. Why we choose to ignore the red flags, or choose to stay in that relationship when these red flags, almost like in a parade, they're just marching right in front of you, waving, and it's almost like they're doing it on purpose, Anyway, Anonymous Andrew Podcast, Life and the Choices We Make. This isn't going to be the whole podcast. If this takes off and I get to do multiple seasons, we're going to explore all sorts of topics in life based on the choices we make in life. But there are choices in life that we have to make if you're in a relationship that's somebody who's in an addiction or alcoholic, or somebody who's mentally ill or has a mood disorder. Just so many different topics. I have so many friends and support group people that have struggles in their life that may have absolutely nothing to do with romance, but they're in a situation where they have to make choices, and they don't choose wisely. Okay, so that's the other end of it, is making the right choice, but choose wisely. Okay. Anonymous Andrew Podcast on all platforms. I am on Instagram at AnonymousAndrwPodcast. My email is AnonymousAndrwPodcast@gmail. I'm on Twitter, Andrew Podcast. And I'm working on a website, and now I'm on YouTube under Anonymous Andrew Podcast. So I'm just introducing myself, and many more videos to come. I'll be airing some podcasts. Some it'll be just me. Sometimes it'll be a guest, but if the guests are anonymous, obviously it'll be just voice. So I hope to see more of you, or you to see more of me, and very, very soon we'll hopefully this will become a weekly thing where I can be helping others who are going through these struggles. Okay? Nice to meet you, and we'll talk to you very soon. Thank you very much.